Good morning. Welcome to the Science of Mind class here in Dallas from wherever you are. I'm Dr. Petra, and we are towards the end of this third chapter of the introduction, what it does. And so in this section of the what it does, one of the things that's really being focused on here in the fact that the universe contains all knowledge is that the universe does contain all knowledge, but we draw from the universe that which is that which we are receptive to, that which we are able to embrace or embody or understand. So this little section that says it contains all knowledge. The universal mind contains all knowledge. It is the potential ultimate of all things. To it, all things are possible. To us, as much as possible as we can conceive according to law. So it's our ability to conceive of ideas, to imagine something beyond what we're currently experiencing, and to embrace a larger idea of life that actually creates the container into which more knowledge can be poured, more intelligence can operate. It also has a little bit to do with our unique makeup, right? So I love this at the top of page 45. This is why some draw one type of knowledge and some another, all from the same source. The scientist discovers the principles of science, the artist embodies the spirit of art, the saint draws Christ into his being, all because they have courted the particular presence of some divine concept. So courting it, right, is inviting it in. Courting it is opening ourselves to it and allowing some larger idea to really become part of our consciousness. Every state of consciousness taps the same source, but has a different receptivity. Each receives what they ask for according to their ability to embody. So the challenge here, right, is, so let's take prosperity. If I start working with the law and understanding that there's infinite abundance, and I say, well, I'm going to feel prosperous when I have more abundance. Am I growing my ability to embody abundance? No, I'm waiting. But if I can embody more abundance, then I can draw more of it to me. So, that's the way that the shorthand for that is, rather than I'll believe it when I see it, right? It's actually, I'll see it when I believe it. And believing in it isn't a wishful hoping that somehow I believe that Spirit loves me and will give it to me. That's not that kind of believing in. It's the ability to embody a larger reality. Now, the same thing is true with our spirituality. If I say I'm going to work on a deeper experience of the presence, but I do nothing but talk about, and what I talk about is, well, I know that when I have healed myself, I will be closer to Spirit. When I have released my false beliefs, I will have a better idea, a better experience of the presence. Do you see? I'm waiting to have a deeper experience of my spirituality when what I believe about my brokenness has changed. But it's the other way around. When I can embody the idea that the presence is everywhere present all the time, and that includes me, and I keep working with, how do I imagine that? How can I embody that? How can I embrace that? and really grow my ability to conceive that I am, in fact, an individualized expression of the one infinite reality, well, then I become less broken, because that's the outpicturing of embodying oneness. Then I'm more able to shift my consciousness around false beliefs or old ideas, because I am embodying the fact that I am the universe showing up as me. Do you see? This is why this is called spiritual psychology, and it's different than the psychology that has some real merit, right? When you go to therapy and you learn to look at your trauma, and you learn to do forgiveness work, and you learn to do all these kinds of things, and you learn stress management and everything, right? That's working sort of from the bottom up, so to speak. When we do our spiritual work, we're working from the top down. I know it's a hierarchical way of talking about it, but we're working from spiritual truth. We're working to embrace this larger reality. This is why we spend ridiculous amounts of time talking about the nature of reality and the nature of who we are. We're not trying to get to that. We are already that. The more of that we can embody, the more that is what expresses, which is then a different experience of life, an experience of life more in alignment with the universal expressing as us as individuals. Therefore, more whole, more happy, more healthy, more joyful, more abundant, right? And so it's our ability, and it does actually start with conceiving of the idea, because it's hard to feel, let's say, oneness when our mind tells us we're not good enough. Do you see? And if we're waiting to feel it, we're in trouble. That could take a really long time. But if we begin to work conceptually in our mind, which also includes imagination, and it is the imagination that helps us embody something that doesn't exist. Right? That's what imagination does. I mean, I can imagine a pink unicorn with blue wings. I can imagine the apocalypse. I can imagine a lot of things that are not yet in reality. And we can imagine them so much that we can cause ourselves to panic, to cry, to laugh. We can cause physiological experiences in our own bodies, right? So imagining, what would it be like if this were true? How can I get my consciousness to bend around the idea? Do you see? That's what it means to conceive. It's not just, oh, I'm having a rational linear thought. No, it's really working with our ability to conceptualize and imagine something, right? It's a total brain, total experience and that we have, which is the embodiment of it, which is the acceptance of the truth that allows us to embody it. And that's what stretches the container, our container, that allows us to then draw more of this universal truth into reality according to law, right? So according to those things that we pay attention to. So everybody draws from it differently, right? So we always use, we often use the analogies of prosperity and things because it's very identifiable. It doesn't mean that you're only using this to create and manifest prosperity and things, right? We can use it for all kinds of things, but the example that came to me just now is, I remember when I first started learning this, for whatever reason, the big deal was everybody was going to demonstrate their prosperity by manifesting a really cool car. And what most people wanted was a red Mercedes coupe. That was like, I don't know why, that, at least in the circles that I ran in that particular time period, that was like the thing. Well, they were expensive even then, right? And I was like, oh, okay, this doesn't make sense to me. You all go ahead and do that. I want a cabin in the woods. And I actually got chided for my lack of prosperity consciousness. And I was like, but I don't really care about a red Mercedes. I really want a cabin in the woods. I want to, you know. So I have, since then, owned 2 cabins in the wood, right? Which a lot of people are like, oh, how did you do that? How can you afford a second cabin? How can you afford, right? But that's my embodiment of my prosperity. Do you see? Right? And I love to travel. So I have been able to, in the last 10 years, do a ton of traveling. My income hasn't changed, really, not appreciably. But that's my prosperity. Do you see? And so this is true no matter what it is. So if I have a recognition that the place where I feel my greatest oneness, if we are experiencing our greatest oneness in nature, we really feel and sense that, right? The more that we experience oneness and nature, the more that we look around, the more that we're with it, the more that we're like, wow. And that stretches our consciousness about being able to conceive it, the more oneness we're going to experience. The more oneness we're going to experience in our everyday life, on our meditation cushion, right? Because we're really working with that place that allows us to experience and embody this idea. Oh yeah, this walking through the forest, those trees and those flowers and the soil, everything's working together, and the sun and the rain. And yeah, I see how this is an ecosystem, and it all works together, and it's all one. And I can point to all these different things, but it's all one. Ah, oneness, right? Do you see? And we're building within our consciousness a bigger idea, which allows us to then keep imagining, well, if that's true there, what if it were true here in me? What if it were true here in my life? What if it were true that I could sit on my meditation cushion and have that same experience? Do you see? And I'm embodying it. And therefore, it begins to express itself, because it's our ability to embody. And so over and over again, right, it says, if you spend 15 minutes in meditation or doing your spiritual mind treatment in the morning, and then spend the next 23 hours talking about how it doesn't work, and how separate we are, and how broken we are, and how, whatever it is, complain, yada, 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 the 15 minutes is not gonna, right? It's not gonna cut it. It's that total work. And so we want to not become fooled by the language. We want to not become fooled by what we might perceive of as intellectual language, or intellectualizing it. And we want to remember that we are different, right? We're audio learners, we're kinesthetic learners, we're visual learners. Well, the same thing is true for the way in which we conceive things. Some of us conceive things by visualizing it. Some of us conceive things by spending time working with it, contemplating it. Some of us conceive things by having this big imaginative vision, or just playing with the metaphorical ideas. Do you see? So this is not just a purely intellectual process. Conceiving of something, it begins to open that container in which we can embody it, which allows then us to draw more and more and more of the greater reality. Whatever the greater reality is that we want to draw in, right? Scientist draws in more understanding of the principles. You might draw in deeper love to heal a relationship, a greater experience of the presence. You might be drawing in new work as the activity of the universe through you. Do you see? That's what we're doing. So this is the paradox. The paradox of the universe does, in fact, contain all knowledge. It does, in fact, I mean, it's running the universe, right? Which is a pretty extraordinary thing. It's running the universe. It knows how to do miraculous things. And yet, it can only do for us what it is that we have stretched our consciousness to embody. And that's just according to law. I personally stopped doing mathematics at geometry. I cannot do a trigonometry problem, God forbid calculus, right? But only because I didn't stretch my consciousness to learn that. Do you see? I was more interested in literature and humanities and philosophy and all those kinds of things. So I just stopped on the math side and went over here. Other people go the reverse. Do you see? So other people have done the reverse. They can do much more math and do higher problems and, you know, send people to the moon because of it. Doesn't make, do you see what I'm saying? Right? So it's how we open ourselves and embody them more, then that more gets to be expressed. All right, so this becomes a very important conversation, and it's not intended ever to be about blame or shame. What's the matter with my consciousness? Why can't I do it? I don't have a big enough consciousness. There must be something wrong with me, right? This isn't about criticizing our consciousness. It tells us where our work is. Right? You want to get better at something? You want to lift more weights? You got to work at it, and then you got to start putting bigger weights on. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you, right? It just means, oh, there's work to be done and there's something to be grown. All right, so we're going to stop there. See how this is playing out in your life, and how can we support you in growing a larger conception of the thing that is on your mind that you want to grow in your own life, heal, manifest, whatever it is. And again, remember, it can be a thing, but it can be anything, which isn't necessarily a physical thing. So we're going to go over to Ryan and Richard. Good morning, Ryan.
Well, good morning, Dr. Petra, and hello, everybody here in the room, and welcome to everybody all over the world online with us today. Shout out to those visiting us on Zoom, and shout out to the people down in sunny Mexico right now that are saying hello to us.
Not
Hello,
cold.
¿Cómo estás? Yes. And we have people from all over the globe, so welcome, welcome. And this is an interactive discussion. We do love that people here in the room and online participate with us. And so there's just a couple ways that we do that. For those who are here in the room, I'm going to have a microphone here, and the iconic Richard will help me to pass this around. And or if you're holding it, please help us to pass it around, because we love volunteers here at CSLDallas. Isn't that right, Dr. Petra?
Yes, that is right.
And for those who are here with us on Zoom, you can go ahead and hit the raise your hand icon, and then I can bring you into the room. And all of those who are participating with us, you can use the chat in order to put your questions or comments in there when it comes to Facebook Live or on Zoom. And I do like to always remind folks that I keep the questions and comments that are in the chat private, secret, and secure, so that way we can have a safe container for spiritual growth. I don't really go to that extent, but I just won't say your name on there. All right, I do see we have somebody here online, and then we could probably poll the audience here in the room and see if we have any questions or comments. So I see this familiar face. Armando, do you want to go ahead and join us?
Good morning, Armando.
Good morning, Dr. Petra. Great topic. Just ties into my experience that I had this past week, but I want to backtrack for a moment. So in 2016, as many of you know, that I manifested Carpet Project and it was birthed there. I started with $300 and I gave it all I had, but I kept writing as if I was going to be operating with over $100,000. And I did all my spiritual practices, visioning, boards, classes, prosperity, all of that. And it still did, so 2017, nothing, 2018, nothing, 2019, nothing, 2020 in the middle of a pandemic. I doubled it and I manifested $200,000 in the middle of a pandemic. So I thought to myself, well, if I can manifest that, then I can manifest $1 million because it's just an extra zero. Well, this past week, I've been working on a proposal for $1.1 million, and I have to cut it down to a little bit under $1 million. And then the inner critic came in and said, who do you think you are to be managing $1 million? Who do you think you are? Because don't you remember your story? How around financial and how I was raised, et cetera, et cetera. And then I thought to myself, you know what? This isn't about me. This money is about the people that we're going to be serving out in the world. And I had to kind of move myself out, but still keep believing. And so what I found, my experience, what I've learned this week was also, I have to get comfortable in this larger numbers, right? But I also have to get comfortable in knowing some of my weaknesses, which means I need to wrap myself around a financial coach that can help me to be more comfortable at this level. I need to bring somebody that can help me to be a better negotiator. Doesn't mean that I'm right or wrong, or if it's good or bad. It's just that I'm recognizing this experience. And then, so now it manifested, and as you say, don't get caught up in the details and the how. But then it's like, holy crap, it's here. Now what do I do? So what I realized is the details and the how is still the same format. I still turned that over because I really don't know how I'm going to manage that yet. So I have to keep, I don't know if that makes sense, but that's what I've been doing. That's been my experience this week, was uncomfortable. And all of those emotions, but I'm working my way through it. Thank you.
Oh, Armando, thank you so much for sharing that. It's such a beautiful example, and you've always impressed me with the dogged determination you have to do your spiritual work and to apply it, right? That's what happens. And so when the limiting beliefs, because Armando so beautifully was willing to share his limiting beliefs, and knowing his history and his story, laid down from childhood, etched in stone, it felt like. And it's the spiritual work, and you have hit the nail on the head. Wow, I want to do this greater thing. I want to have this greater experience. One, who am I to do it? Two, how am I going to do it? How do I manage it? So you see, these are the ways that we undercut our attempt to embody. But that also, that shows us exactly where our work is. And so for Armando, he was able to go, well, what's the point of this? What's the purpose of this? Right? And it's the larger vision of our own lives, whether it's our own prosperity or prosperity of a business or the gift that we're giving to our children or the world, or, right? That takes us out of ourselves. And it is, I have to now become a person who can handle a $1.1 million organization. That's exactly what, that's a perfect example of what it means to grow our embodiment. And of course, as Armando also shared, because it's all knowledge, well, part of what happens is as we grow our embodiment, the knowledge drops in. Oh, I need a financial advisor. Want to grow our embodiment about spiritual deepening? Oh, maybe I should go on a retreat. Oh, I've actually attracted information about a retreat I've never even heard of. It's exactly what I feel is going to allow me to sink more deeply into my spirituality, right? Do you see? That's part of the knowledge, the law dropping in as we're growing our embodiment. We're going to get presented in with, oh, I need to do this. Oh, I should do that. Oh, that will help me. Right? Not because we can't do it, but because we're doing it. That's how we evidence that we're doing it. Because before that, I'm not going to put words in Armando's mouth, but I'm going to suggest that maybe a year ago or a year or two ago, he might never have either even conceived of getting a financial advisor or thought that he deserved one, could have one, knew what to do with one. Do you see? And now it's obvious. Oh, I need a financial advisor, right? No withhold. Do you see? No about it, right? Which immediately shows us that that's the knowledge that's now dropping in. I have to become this. I have to attract this. Right? For whatever it is that we're doing. And and this is why we so often use financial or prosperity examples, because you can point to them, right? It's easier to kind of fudge about whether I have more peace or greater experience of oneness, right? But with a financial thing, you either did it or you didn't. It either happened or it didn't happen, right? And so I remember here at CSLDallas having this conversation. We felt stuck in our growth. This was years ago, and we were kept like running up to, we had 100 people, and then we'd drop back down, and then we'd run up to 100 people, and we'd drop back down, and I had to do a lot of work on my own consciousness. And then as a staff and a board, we got together, and we realized that we were saying, well, we're kind of a small community, so this is a small right? And I said, okay, if we were a big church, what would we do? Well, the first response was, well, we're not. Okay, right? But if we were a big spiritual community, what would we do? How would we think about this? How would we handle this? And it forced us, do you see? It forced us to think about it in larger terms. And all of a sudden, new things were emerging, new awarenesses, new ideas, because we were forcing ourselves to imagine something more. And again, it's not about the money. It's not just about finances and prosperity, but those are like very concrete examples that we use. Great, thank you, Armando. And we just know that it's all coming together. I'm so excited. Can't wait to hear the TSRW. All right, Ryan, we're turning over back to you.
Yeah, it looks like we have another online comment from JL. JL, do you want to go ahead and unmute yourself and join us?
Good morning, JL.
Hey, good morning, everybody. This is a very interesting conversation. Armando, I love hearing your journey. It's been very beneficial to hear and see. I've been working on tapping into what I really want. Not that I haven't manifested a lot of amazing things, but I've always been in the comfort zone of life, I guess. And even though people might know that that's not comfortable at all, but it's comfortable for me.
Right.
I find myself talking about my siblings, because it's 7 of us, and I always say I'm the quiet one. And people are like, what? You're the quiet one? Yes, because I have a few dynamic individuals in my family that I tend to compare myself with, as far as they allow themselves to see a bigger picture, right, when I allow myself to conform to what was expected. How do you recommend working through that? Because I feel blocked. I do my meditation. I do some inner child work. I still feel very blocked to really bust open the imagination so that I can feel, see, and taste what it is I've been suppressing, I guess.
That's great, JL. Thank you for bringing up that question. And boy, do I understand that. And I think a lot of people resonate. One, we do actually have to know what we want. But the reality of that is also there's not just one thing. There's not just a magic, oh, I want this, I'm going to manifest it, and then I'm going to be happy, right? And so it's, so this is where when we use the word manifest something, we tend to project it as something we're going to manifest outwardly. And JL, what you brought up is so much of what we want to manifest is actually an inner experience of ourselves, which is still a thing because it's identifiable, right? We can talk about it. We can identify it. And so I love that you said I meditate and I do my inner child work, right? So doing the inner child work is working from that psychological upward, right? Doing the meditation is lovely. It really helps to allow ourselves to become aware of consciousness, to become aware of awareness, and to settle ourselves energetically. Now the question is, if we become aware of awareness and we cultivate a field of openness, what are we going to put in it? And the work now for you and for so many of us is to put in that field of consciousness, I am an individualized expression of the universe. Nothing limits me. And to begin feeling into what is it that I choose to express as opposed to what do I want? What do I want is a getting of something that I think is going to fill me up. What do I choose to express is a larger, do you see, I'm growing my experience of my life as opposed to something I think is going to fill me up. So Ernest Holmes says later in The Science of Mind, he says, take the highest thought you have of life and begin to expand it. The highest thought you have of your own life and begin to expand it. So JL, in all of us, right, in this space of consciousness, I'm going to expand the idea that maybe that when I'm with my family, I'm more comfortable sharing and being who I am. Or when I'm just out with other people, I'm expressing my unique self. And you see, I literally am feeling that larger me, that larger reality that I am, because I'm the universe expressing. So nothing can contain that. I don't care what the box was that was put on me or us or you, right? Because that's an outer imposed thing. We're working from the inside out. And so, I mean, there's so many ways to imagine. You can imagine it metaphorically with images. You can imagine it with, feeling that larger. I mean, you know, you can create bubbles of internal expression and just imagine them growing. Do you see? Whatever helps you make it bigger, make it fuller, make it richer from the inside out. You're embodying in this container of consciousness, you're embodying a larger experience of life. And so you're going to imagine more love, more joy, more just a greater reality of life. And there's no right way to do that. There's only our way, our individual way of doing that. And usually we take an area, because it's hard sometimes to imagine our whole life getting larger. Ultimately, that is the work that we're doing. But take the largest idea of your life. So that is happy relationships, healthy body, financial freedom, spiritual grounding, making a contribution in the world, ordinary moments that are deeply satisfying, right? Listen, and then it's like, even if you can't visualize it, it's accepting within ourselves that that's possible. And the more we accept within ourselves that it's possible, the more we begin to open up to the experience of it on the inside. So for me, I started really working with this in a big way about relationships, because I had a belief that ultimately, my belief was that I was just poison to all relationships, and that I just really screwed all of them up, and it was terrible and horrible, and it was all my fault. And so doing my spiritual work was like, well, healthy relationships. So I realized that the only image that I had of healthy relationships was things I had seen on television, which are fake relationships, you guys. They're not real. Well, it took me a while to figure that out. And so that wasn't really working, right? And so I simply began to do the work inside myself. I'm in healthy relationships. Well, you don't know what that means. I don't know that. That's right, I don't know what that means. But there is an infinite intelligence that does know what that means. Do you see? The infinite intelligence, but it can only show up as me if I'm creating a larger container. So I spent years creating the container of healthy relationships. And I didn't have a picture of that. But I knew that the infinite knowledge was available, and that infinite love and that infinite knowledge was available to me. So I had to work with that and to keep expanding on the inside my ability to accept that I was a person that had healthy relationships, deserved healthy relationships, could be in healthy relationships, right? Expanding it from the inside out, that I could show up that way. That's the work that we're doing. And so, so I want to use imagining it in the largest possible sense. Even if we don't know what it looks like or feels like, we can still imagine it. That's why I think in the science of mind, we use the word conceive, because we are working with it, and it is our conceptual idea of it that begins to open the door to it. I hope that's helpful. I feel like I want to give you the feeling that I have inside me. I don't know how to express it always in words. I know how it feels here. So we have a comment here, and then we have a comment right here. All right, so we're going to start here with Carmen, and we're going to start over here. Thanks, Richard, and then we'll come over here to Darlene.
Good morning. My name is Carmen. I just wanted to. I had experience that I had a teachable moment, and I had to fight with myself in the mirror. I had to meditate, and one morning I got up. And I had to say those affirmations I have written on my mirror in my bathroom, but I was actually arguing and fussing to myself in the mirror. And I experienced everything that the opposite. Like I was chosen, I'm beautiful, I'm enough, I'm ready to receive love, ready to give love. And I actually felt that. And when I felt that and believed that, my visions were different. My memories, it wasn't thinking that I wasn't chosen, it was more of I was chosen. So it gave me a memory or thoughts of me being chosen, me being worthy, compared to when I didn't feel like that, I had thoughts of not being worthy and not being chosen and not being prioritized. And another thing is that when I was experiencing this moment, I was open. I was like, I felt a receiving.
Yes.
I felt that receiving.
Yes.
It was open. Like it was wide open.
Yes.
And so I realized that, and so I asked myself, what do I need to do? So I start asking, when I'm in that mode, I ask myself. I don't seek out too much of other people's advice, but it told me this. I had a clarity of to watch how my day went. Stop talking so much. No foolish talking, and see how much energy you use by just that foolish talking. You need to keep that within. And then at the end of the day, it showed me how, by me using all my senses, how it was getting depleted, and so it gave me the meaning of the purpose of meditation.
Yes.
Because at work, you're using all your senses, and so meditation, it grounds you back, and then it sets you up for the next day. Mm-hmm. And so it was just showing me, but that was me asking myself, what do I need to do? Just like Armando had said, like he asked himself.
Yes.
And so that is true about when you are in the receiving mode, you get the answers that you need, and it is the visions, everything is aligned up to that truth. And one more thing is that when you are feeling down, I feel like when I feel down, it feels like I'm fighting against myself of the truth. So I have a teachable moment, and then I'm not feeling good. Or I feel a certain way. It's because I'm going against the truth. And so that means I have to work on that area to get better. And so some areas that I'm still, that has really, that's really, deep down, but I'm learning it. I'm learning every day. So I just wanted to say that.
Beautiful. Thank you, Carmen. Thank you so much for sharing that, right? And it's a process. And what Carmen was evidencing was the process of self-awareness, right? That's why we talk about becoming conscious, becoming self-aware. And then we're working with ourselves. And then knowledge drops in. We do know because we are the universe as us. And all of a sudden, when you're open and receiving, that knowledge drops in, it shows up. Thank you. Beautiful. All right.
Hi, my name is Darlene. I'm experiencing this very thing. I picked up my keys yesterday, and I'm an official Dallas resident. And
yay, we're so happy you're closer.
Wait, so the house is bigger, and it has been the most uncomfortable night that I have ever had because we haven't moved our furniture in yet, and I'm like, what am I gonna do with all of this new space? And I'm like, I don't know what to do with it. And last night, I'm walking around. And when you get this new space, and it's abundant in your abundance, and you have the box of crayons to color it the way you want, fill it the way you want, and I'm walking around bumping into walls, not knowing which door to go through because it's not my small container.
Yes.
And so
what a great metaphor, right?
In the wee hours of the morning, I said, after I fell off of the blow-up mattress, I said, stop it.
Yes.
Stop it. You are abundance.
Yes.
Create the abundant experience.
Yes.
Just stop. And so I conceived what my office, and the thing is that everything that I gave away before, because we're all packed up, we've been packed up, I said, I could have put all of that stuff in here. It's like, no, that's what you didn't need.
Right, that's right, that's right.
And so it is very scary when you have the keys to the car, when you're the driver, when you have been given the tools that you don't have in your hand yet, but yet are available to you to create the picture. And so, my wife is running around the house, oh, I'm loving this. I'm like, I'm not that happy yet. I'm comfortable. Stop it. I'm not that happy yet. But I'm loving it because we asked for this space.
Yes.
We wanted to be here. We wanted to be in this environment. And we, you know that thing, careful what you ask for.
Yes.
You know,
Yes, because
I said to myself, you asked for this wonderful thing, and you're going to be this and that. And it's been the worst night of
oh, thank you for your honesty. Oh my God.
okay now.
Yes, but it's so brilliant because you've articulated the very reason and what happens to people and why they pull back and why they lose the good they've manifested. Right? And so the work is to grow into the consciousness on the inside, and don't hurry with filling up the space. Right? You don't actually have to be able to visualize your office. Put in what you've got and then sit. Sit in what you've got and keep stretching your consciousness to embody your good. And then you're going to wander around in the world and you're going to go, oh, I want that in my office. Keep stretching your abundance and your ability to receive your good. And you're going to go, oh, yeah, I really, this. And it will not be something you packed up. It will be something new. And it will be a new expression of you growing into this space. And I just honor you for being so self-aware that you were so aware of what was going on for you. And that, right, that's the work right there, is to recognize it. No shame, no blame, no nothing. Just to recognize it and then do the work with it. And you have articulated what a lot of people experience. And to really, this is why we are embodying. We're embodying, right? So sit in the middle of that beautiful space and just embody. This is ours. We manifested this. And so I will leave you with one of my favorite affirmations. I accept my good. I accept my good. I accept my good. I accept the relationship. I accept the job I manifested. I accept the deeper experience of spirituality. I accept this beautiful expanded home. I accept my good. I accept my good. I accept my good. Why? Because I'm the universe expressing itself as an individual. And why would the universe want anything less than the good that is being expressed right now? So thank you so much for joining us today. I accept my good. I embody that larger life in every way that I can. So we'll see you next week. We'll see you in the celebration. Bye for now. Yay, thank you so much.